Hey guys, and welcome to another one of our Overwatch character guides. Today we will be covering Reaper. So Reaper's left click are his dual shotguns. You get 8 bullets with them, they fire very quickly. A max body hit will do 140 damage if you land all pellets without any headshots, and a max headshot will be 280 damage. So you have the ability to two-shot all tanks aside from Roadhog. Next up is his shift ability, and this turns him to Wraith Ghost form. So he can move around the map and he becomes invulnerable. Whilst doing so, he can pick up health kits. You can use it to get closer to people that are good at range, or you can use it to get away from people if you're very low on health. Next up is his teleport ability. So, as you can see there, between teleporting, he is very vulnerable as you stand still, and the location that you teleport to is made very obvious to the other team. So with that, you have to be very careful that you teleport it to somewhere that you can be safe. It's not to be really used aggressively in any way. Next up is his passive ability, which are these sort of death orbs that drop, and they will heal you for 50 damage per orb. So say you kill a couple of people, you're healing yourself 100 damage, and so you can very much help negate the damage that you previously took, and this makes you a bit more, although not truly self-supporting in the way that you can heal, this does help you to be a bit more self-supporting in terms of healing yourself. And finally, we have his ultimate, which is the Death Blossom. This shoots in a 360-degree area around him. It does massive damage. It's essentially pumping out your shotguns all around you. So if you can drop yourself into somewhere, you can into a crowded area, you can basically site clear, or take a site almost on your own. So this is our Reaper analysis video. So Reaper is a very important character within the game, and he is undoubtedly the best close range character in the game. As much as I said in a May analysis video, which you should also go check, sell out Zell. So as much as I said, I actively go against Reapers when I'm a May. As a Reaper against a May, I often find myself consciously thinking about how I should Wraith mode if I get nearly frozen, and I think a lot of inexperienced, or perhaps just Reapers that aren't thinking about what they're doing at the time really fall out of that, because you underestimate May, because actually, considering I think that she's OP, she's underplayed, very underplayed, and the reason for that is because she's OP in a defensive way. She's not OP in an offensive way. She's not OP on both sides like McCree used to be, which is why he was so proclaimed as the most overpowered person in the game. So I think Reaper still can deal with that kind of thing. Also, as much as Reaper is the king of close quarters, he has no range. I know that I make that sound like a bad thing, but you'd be surprised how many times you just underestimate a Reaper because you think he's far away enough, but suddenly he's wraithing at you, he's right next to you, and you can't even shoot him once. And he pulls out his twin shotguns, 3 hits, you're probably dead. You've got 8 shots in these shotguns as well. That's something else. I don't think it makes him OP, because he isn't OP. He has a lot of counters, he has a lot of inabilities, but he has 8 shots in these shotguns, and that is incredible. That's the difference between him and Roadhog, actually. Apart from the health, is that Roadhog has a 4-shot, but he has a hook, whereas Reaper has to get close to them, but he has 8 shots to play with. He has a lot to work with, and Reaper, of course, being the master of close range, being a huge damage output guy, he's also very good at anti-sort of tank play, because obviously tanks have their way to deal with him, because everyone has a way to deal with everyone in this game. You can't be completely defeated by anyone. For instance, Bastion, he can pair up with people, and suddenly the Genji isn't so overpowered. But when you consider that Reaper, right, the sort of Reaper's the anti-tank play. So okay, maybe Zarya can pop a little shield or whatever. It lasts for seconds. You wait that out. You're doing 4 hits, she's dead. You got to really play Reaper smart, because the minute you get low health, you wraith away, you might as well be full health, because someone's going to heal you, or you're going to find somewhere to heal yourself. Also, another ability that makes a Reaper very powerful is those death orbs. I mean, his passive ability, when someone dies, or an enemy dies, I think it has to be an enemy, he can pick up their soul, I guess it's supposed to be, and he heals himself for 50. And that is an incredible ability. I think combined with the fact that you can pick them up whilst in Wraith mode is one of the things that make him so powerful, in that it's comparable to the way that Mei heals herself in an ice block, except he has more mobility, more speed, and he can partially heal himself whilst doing it. These things make Reaper very powerful. We don't talk about his I haven't talked about his teleport much, right? And that is because I don't see it as a very useful tool. I think it's a useful tool in terms of getting to the objective, in terms of not facing enemies during that journey to the objective. It's more like when you spawn, you press E and you go as far as you can with it, so that you can get outspawned. Obviously, you won't. Not obviously, but you might not use it at the start if you get a Lucio speed boost. But if you don't, you can get ahead. You can get ahead quite quickly, and then you can wraith the rest of the way if you're being sniped at, or if there's some long range play at you. But I think his teleport isn't underpowered, because I don't think it needs to be powerful for Reaper to continue to be powerful, because his ability, his general, the way he plays, the way he has 250 health. It's more than most characters. He's a very powerful shotgun set. He's got that wraith ability, get close into people or get away from people depending on what the situation is. He's got that passive heal. He doesn't need another OP ability. And then if you consider that, and then you got his ultimate, game-changing ultimate. If you use it right, it's a game-changing ultimate. There are counters to it. There's ways of avoiding it, but if you can get above people, you can get them unsuspecting, use that ultimate, you're wiping out who knows how many players. It just depends how close they are to you. It just depends how many there are next to you. But if you're a Reaper and you're not getting at least sort of 2 kills with that kind of ultimate, you're playing it either wrong, or you've just messed up, really, because you need to be getting a lot of kills, because it's a very slow recharge on that ultimate. It's one of the slowest in the game, I believe, and it's so important in terms of making a push, making a flank, anything like that, because that's the thing as well. Reaper is always considered to be a very offensive character. He's put in the offensive category, but if you play him on defense, and I often get slated by teammates for playing him on defense. It's stupid, everyone says, but what if you isolate that single player that you need to isolate on their team? A Genji that's been messing you up from behind, a Tracer that's been messing up from behind. You mess them up, suddenly they're playing 5 versus 6 here. Or you get behind them, you use your ultimate into attack, or you use their ultimate into maybe when they're capturing a point, capturing a payload, pushing it forward. You drop in, use an ultimate, you clear them out, your team push up, you push the payload back, they're not capping anymore, whatever it is. Reaper is often disregarded as a defensive character. I mean, your team might hate you for it, but if you can play him well enough, and you have to play him well enough, he's not an ultra high skill player. You just got to think about what you're doing and make sure you're keeping him alive as long as possible. It's very important. His ultimate has to be well used. You have to kill people with it, because it is very important. And his shotguns, of course, massive damage. Deal with people that you need to deal with. Counters to Reaper, it's going to be Pharah, it's going to be Widowmaker, it's going to be the classics. But of course, you got to be careful with him wraithing. Don't waste bullets on an invisible body. There's no point. When you're dealing with a Reaper, surprisingly, I think you should. I know I say this almost every episode, it seems, but Genji is a great counter to a lot of characters. And Reaper is you don't think about it. You press E, but you're reflecting his massive damage shots back into him, and you can get away with your dash. You can dash through him. You don't really want to go at him unless you're using that E, though. I think that's just a no-go zone. And again, another way to deal with Reaper, those traps, you can wraith out of them, but if you can get him quick enough, he's down. And don't try and use a Roadhog against a Reaper. As much as you're trying to go damage versus damage, he can pull it out of the bag and kill you as well, or you can just wraith away. So you've got to be careful with that. And that's how you play Reaper.